Hi, I wanted to welcome everybody so far that has joined today's meeting to learn about the conceptual plans for the future boating facility at Chinook Park. It is just now 4 o'clock. I do want to give it a few minutes to make sure that anybody who is just a few minutes late joining doesn't miss the beginning of the presentation. For the panelists that have joined us today, I am Sarah Garso. I'm the Parks Director for Josephine County. Mackenzie Kroom is on the line. She's with Josephine County Parks Department as well. We have 3 individuals from Oregon State Marine Board, including Ginny and Alan at this time. And I do believe that we're going to be having Jeff join us as well. I have enabled all of the panelists' video and mics at this time, so you're welcome to toggle your video or mic anytime that you'd like to say something as a panelist. For attendees, we do have the question and answer section of Zoom activated. You should be able to see on your screen a Q&A section. That's where you can submit questions as the presentation goes along. And that way we can review them and make sure to answer the most common questions and try to make sure everybody's in the loop with where are we at in the progress, how long is it going to take. So officially, we'll take probably another 4 minutes until we begin the presentation officially, so nobody misses the slideshows. Hey, awesome. So I'm going to officially start the meeting. Welcome to the Chinook Park public meeting. Josephine County Parks put this together because we got some conceptual plans from the Oregon State Marine Board. The Oregon State Marine Board has taken their time to join us today as well to make sure that we give the right information to the public. They can help explain what process we've already been through and add their technical knowledge to ensure I don't misspeak, as I have not had the pleasure of going through boat ramp projects before, although the Josephine County Parks Department has had many successes. Our last ones for remodel were Hog Creek as well as Indian Mary Park. Those took, I believe, about 5 years to get through. These are no short feats. This is essentially the very first look where we want to show the public what we are trying to do at the park in order to address public concerns that have come in. Since I've been director in 2015, we have had numerous comments on the boat ramp being unsafe and how the current comes across the boat ramp once you put your boat in. We also know the parking lot is rather small, and we get a lot of comments, even dating back to record on 2015 with the Parks Advisory Board meeting where a public member came in to talk about the unsafe boat ramp, but also mentioning so many times there's not enough room for a boat with a trailer to navigate the parking lot. There's not enough parking in general, and we're always seeing people have to bleed over into the streets in order to get parking. So that's how we came about with prioritizing this project. Josephine County Parks applied for a technical grant with the Oregon State Marine Board and was awarded that in 2019, which means they get to help us with all their technical experience and their engineering to create future plans. So this meeting is to go over what we have as conceptual plans right now, get all the feedback that we possibly can from the public, whether you're a resident who lives by the park or in Josephine County, or you're simply a boat user, whether you're a fisherman or just a recreational boater. So we'll take all these comments and look at them. We're going to keep comment periods open for 30 days. We're going out until March 20th so that we give ample time for people to review this recording if they're not here live, to make comments or ask questions. At the end of 30 days, we'll package all of that into a summary to say, hey, what are people wanting to know, or what feedback do they have? So that the Oregon State Marine Board and the Parks Department can look again and say, how do we modify the plans from here? All right, so I'm going to start advancing through the slides. Here is that timeline that we started talking about. We've been talking since 2014, 2015, it went to the Parks Advisory Board. I know the public has been talking to us since then, but this is what we have documented. By 2019, we applied for the technical grant to try to start working towards the plans you're going to see today. 2019, we had an on-site community meeting. It was really meant for the neighbors, and we directly targeted direct mailings to all of the neighbors to try to get participants to just talk about their neighborhood park in general. It was not specific to a boat ramp remodel, but in general, how is the park working for the neighborhood? And the boat ramp was discussed during that time. And here we are with the conceptual plans. So what's next? Well, we want a lot of public feedback. The good, the bad, what do you like, what do you not like? What do we need to consider that we may not have already looked at? What do we need as a priority? After this meeting, after we have the public comments and we come out with another conceptual design, there will be more public interaction, more feedback involved. But to advance it from our point, we will need to meet with permitting and committing agencies to accommodating agencies to say, hey, what regulations do we need to follow? What might ODFW, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, or what might the Oregon Scenic Waterways require? And so we've got to go through all those development permits and see what do we need to change to even make this possible. We'll need to go through archaeology study and a wetland delineation as well. So to show in comparison, this is the current layout of the park. You can see Chinook Park Lane going into the cul-de-sac, the entry to the park, and the small amount of delineated parking stalls. Anybody with boats has to try to fit into one of the stalls, or most likely we've seen them park in between the two trees that are in the middle of the parking lot. And the proposed plan does look drastic for anybody that hasn't seen it before. It is a large amount of pavement and a large parking lot. We did our best to analyze how many people are using this facility now, as well as how many additional people would want to use the facility after it is built. And that way people can safely park and maneuver in order to best utilize the boat ramp that is at Chinook Park currently. The boat ramp will be moving upstream from the proposed drawings. And this is the technical language Oregon State Marine Board will be much better at, but they did a lot of survey points and analyzing to look at the river and water flows. There was a no-rise study done, which we have to do whenever we build to see how is the floodplain going to change. And this was the very first proposal that they have sent to us. And so in looking at it, it has a total of 17 car stalls and a good amount of trailer stalls as well, a total of 11. It does move the bathroom up in order to accommodate for accessibility and relocate it on the site. It does put in stairs as well, possible stairs, that's optional, but sidewalk going down the length of the road to get to the boat ramp so that it's accessible as well. It allows for maneuvering and hopefully a much better entry to the Rogue River than what we know now. Does the Oregon State Marine Board have anything to say about these plans right now before I advance through screens?
So I do want to chime in that the trailer stalls can be seasonally managed, where during the peak trailered season, that's what they serve. And then during the off season, when you get a lot of the inner tubers, floaters, kayakers, rafters, they can also serve as 2 single car parking spaces. So they have a multi-purpose use to help keep vehicles off of the roadway.
Great, thank you. All right, and I'll advance through the slides here and to keep those questions coming in. I do see them, we'll answer them at the end. This is an overlay so that you can see from an aerial view, what is it actually, the footprint going to look like based on what you and me see when we arrive at the location. So it helps overlay that practical view that everybody's used to instead of a bunch of lines. All right, so anticipated needs. These were the things that we considered as we started putting together some conceptual plans. We know that the current boat ramp is unsafe for boaters to use. We have heard unfortunate stories where people have put in their boat and their boat has been taken into the stream. Even a story where a gentleman was knocked off his feet while trying to load in. I do believe he was wearing a life vest and was not harmed, although definitely woke him up in the process. We do need additional parking. I know that, yes, some people park outside of the boat ramp area as they don't want to pay our $5 day use fee. We are self-funded and rely on those fees. I understand that may not be prevented with the project, but we also know there are too many cars for the facility that we have. We often see the parking lot itself at max capacity when we're looking in summer months, with people not having an option but to park out on the streets, especially when it comes to individuals who are have a trailer with their boat behind them. There's just not always enough room within the parking lot. It's not only about parking there, but being able to turn around to load in to get their boat. We expect on a monthly average, we looked at numbers coming in from day use fee envelopes. This does not include anybody who might have annual day use passes. But when looking at our numbers from a prior year, August through October, we saw that there were 800 to 1,000 individuals on average that paid that $5 day use fee. And we know that there are a lot of people with annual day use passes that also use the location. Non-motorized access is also popular. There's a lot of people putting in their inflatable kayaks or other individual rafts in order to do a float from here, which is Chinook Park, commonly down to Baker, Schroeder, or even takeouts at Lake Ripleyford. In addition to that, we know we have a lot of fishermen with motors using the facility as well. We've had a large request for lighting at the facility, and we also know we need to address the ADA access. So anticipated regulatory needs. This is what do we have to consider when we are looking at building plans? Well, the property itself is within a floodway, so that has to be taken into consideration. The design needs to be minimized in order to prevent damage and cleanups when there are flood events. We need to comply with FEMA no-rise certifications as well as all FEMA requirements. The project doesn't have to go through the nationwide permitting of ESA EFH, which has been identified at this time. Of course, until we put in our official site plan review with the planning department and community development, they're the ones that officially get to tell us what we do and don't need. But the Oregon State Marine Board has done a lot of these, and so they've helped us create the list of what do we know now. Habitat enhancement is on there. Wetland compensation and mitigation may need to be addressed. We do have to get that wetland delineation study. And then, of course, stormwater management needs to come into all plans. And if anybody in the panelists has anything to add at any point, feel free to turn on your mics at any point. So what's happening now? Well, we just released the very first look at conceptual plans. They're not set in stone. This may not be what is built. In fact, it could change quite a bit one way or the other. That's why we want public comments, public feedbacks. We're going to have to also work again with all of the permitting agencies in order to get their adjustments as well. We will need to be starting a cultural and historical site assessment, as that's always required when we do development permits, and starting on conditional use permits. That's where we just tell, hey, planning and the county, hey, we're going to be looking at modifying this. What do we need to do? And they start to get looking at all of the legal requirements to make sure we're on the correct page with what might need to advance. What is next from there? We'll need to, of course, update this design concept that you're looking at. I want to be clear, this is no short feat. We'll look at timeline here shortly, but it could easily be over a 5-year project. We'll need to look at wetland mitigation design, stormwater management plan. We'll need to create design concepts at 90% in the future after we've had more interaction with the public and with feedback from all the different agencies. And we would have to prepare the JPA permit application, which is a joint permit through the Army Corps of Engineers, as well as the Department of State Lands. These are all the known permits and consultants that we get to work with for this location. There may be a couple more, but we tried to make it as inclusive as possible. So, of course, we have oversight from the Army Corps of Engineers, Department of State Lands, the DEQ, which is Department of Environmental Quality. We've got the Planning Department for the building section, for the land use section, as well as any floodplain development needs. We've got National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, of course, will be playing a big role in this. State Historic Preservation Office, National Historic Preservation Act review, the tribal consultation, as well as U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Other similar sites, here's just a snapshot. Hog Creek and Indian Mary both took about 5 years, and just to help orient people with cost, right now we had an approximate cost of $450,000 when we added that second boat ramp at Hog Creek. And then Indian Mary's boat ramp got moved with a larger turnaround parking lot in the bottom. That one was approximately $720,000. So what will this one cost? Well, we're really not sure yet. It really depends on the designs and what actually ends up getting built. But we could be looking at around the $1 million mark, if not more. How do we fund it? Grants, lots of grants. The Oregon State Marine Board has amazing grant opportunities. We know we'll be looking at grant opportunities with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, as well as other agencies to help along the process. So here is that estimated timeline I referred to. The biggest unknowns are, these are all dominoes. A lot of them have to go one after the other. And so the first one we're going to be looking for is a conceptual design. That's what we're actively going to be working towards, is a 90% design that everybody is somewhat happy with in order to serve all of our user groups and best serve the park and its designed access to the Rogue River for boats. If all stays on track and goes well, we may be looking at a 2026 construction. But this timeline will continually be updated and changing. It would be probably unheard of to try to do anything in the next 2 years flat, 3 years flat. Might even take that long to get through permitting. So just want to reassure everybody that there haven't been any major plans in the work. We haven't approved anything. This is the state where we need a lot of feedback. So estimated costs, I started to hint at that. We have to look at putting in a new boat ramp. We'll need to do the restroom. We'll need to pave the parking lot itself and delineate parking. Access road, we of course need to look at ADA, which also makes for safe access for everybody walking down to the boat ramp. Utilities, we'll have to look at the electric and any water on site for potable drinking water if we have public faucets, as well as irrigation if we have some. I know right now we're pulling irrigation from the river, but we'll be looking at all those things. Signage, we've got to do mitigation and permits, stormwater treatment, and any other specialized engineering and assessment. So possibly $1 million, possibly more. This is a very preliminary thing. As we get to the 90% conceptual plans, we'll be able to have a much better financial picture so that we can start working towards funding. So what can you do? Please make sure we have your email address. Last night, as a courtesy to try to make sure as many people as possible knew about it, we went ahead and emailed anybody that we had emails on for fishermen and guide services in our official Excel list, as well as the known emails that we have for the Chinook commuters. We posted all of the posters on site. So there's one at Chinook with a printout of the concept design. We even put it on the inside of the bathroom door to make sure anybody using that couldn't miss it. We have it at all the boat ramps across Josephine County. We did a press release. We hit the media, and word of mouth is going to be a huge push. So tag a friend, tell somebody that you know that this is available. This whole presentation, again, it's recorded and will be available so that we can continue to get feedback for the next 30 days. Complete the surveys when you see them. We can email you the links. If you're on social media, we'll put them on Facebook. We'll also have them on our website. And the Oregon State Marine Board plays a big part in also contacting boaters and fishermen. I know they have their contact list, and they also help push out the word about today's meeting. Letters of support, whether it's this project or any project, if you think something needs to be addressed, the best thing you can do is write a letter of support. We can always receive emails with opinions or things that need to be fixed, but a strong letter of support can really be used once we get into the permitting phase or the funding phase as well. We wanted to make sure that you have all of our contact information. Again, I'm Sarah Garceau, I'm the Parks Director for Josephine County. All emails should go to the Parks email address, and that way, if I'm not immediately available, another staff member, often who is well educated, can also be responding to emails and getting you proper information. Parks email will be the proper place to put any comments for this project. And then the Oregon State Marine Board is always there to talk to boaters. And so Janine has graciously put up her information as well. Again, this is recorded, so you can come back to this screen at any time. For public comments you have from now until March 20th, I will be shortly updating the website after this meeting. I'm just going to trim off the dead area in the beginning of the video so people don't have to sit through that. And everybody wants to electronic comments. So there, you would rather either handwrite or text letter, or you can walk down here to the Josephine County Parks Department. All of those will be looked at and considered to try to make the best park and facility after all is said and done. So that is it for the slideshow. We went ahead and should now have all presenters on your screen. Before we start some questions and answers.
Depending on what the questions are going to be, I think it's probably important here to understand that the process for us to even begun with a conceptual plan is to do a thorough site survey, including uplands and in water, which we have done. And then having a complete hydraulic analysis done of the existing conditions. And part of the scope of work for that was to determine the most suitable location for the ramp. And the report came back from the hydrologist that the most suitable would be as far upstream as we could get this. And they recommended that it be above that existing fishing pier. That's where you have favorable water depths and velocities. So that pretty much became the starting point for the rest of the facility, placing the ramp in that location, and then seeing how we could tie that back into the uplands where the parking facility would be. So that's what this initial conceptual plan is based on.
Oh, I've got on mute or you can't hear me. Thank you, Jeff, for that insight. All right, so going through the questions, again, if you have a question, please type it in the question and answer section. We are going to be using that for today's meeting. I see some comments about short notice for the meeting. I apologize. We do everything that we can do here at Parks with our limited staff to get information out to the public. We did put out a press release. It was picked up by the Daily Courier. We did post it on our social media stuff. We did put all of the posters down at the park. In fact, we put that at all boat ramps in order to make sure as many people as possible could see it. And then we did directly email as well. This is not an official public meeting. I want to make that clear. This is an informal meeting. We've named it public meeting so that anybody and everybody feels welcome. But it's not a commissioner meeting. It's not a Parks Advisory Board meeting. No official decisions are being made today. We're just simply working towards future plans. So we did our best as possible. We cannot do direct mailing with stamps for every meeting. We do those every once in a while, but it's not a common practice for our public meetings. We want everybody to be involved. And if you were not notified, we'd be happy to add your email address to our email list. We'd be happy to help you find information from the county. I know not everyone knows where to get that. So let's see. So
Sarah, to add on to that, so once you notified us, we also put it on our social media. It was also emailed out to all registered outfitter and guides, as well as our list of boater contacts who have an interest in this area. And then we asked that ODF&W also reach out and to post it on their rec page as well. So they did get that done. And we try to expand your outreach on that.
Thank you so much. I felt it was important to do a virtual meeting because everybody can access it. This is now recorded. It's going to be posted on YouTube, directly posted to our webpage and available for people to watch, replay, share with other people. And then we have that full 30 days. We're trying to get the first round of feedback, and there will be additional zones there as well. So please share if you know anybody that might not be in the loop. Okay, so another question we have is, what will the county do to mitigate traffic issues? Traffic is already bad during the summer with multiple high-speed violations. As part of the planning process and going through this, Public Works is one of the individuals that get to comment. A lot of our roads jump jurisdiction between ODOT and County Public Works. County Public Works, I believe, is in charge of all the small streets leading up to Chinook Park. So they will be the ones in through the planning process to decide if a specific traffic study is required due to this specific development. And if it's required, then of course those things will be done. Short of that, if the traffic is already bad, don't forget that you can always make public comments at commissioner meetings. You can always reach out to Public Works to ask them to do traffic studies to see if there's anything they can do to improve the area to ensure it's safe for residents walking as well as when you're driving in and out. I do believe that that is important also. All right, let's see. Another comment that we had more on traffic. There was a comment in regards to an Oregon, an OAR about housing wells and 100 feet of improvements. I'm not sure that we've gotten that far in the permitting process, but I do know we're going to have to look at setbacks. We can't develop within so many feet of our property lines. And any other laws and requirements 100% need to be met. I absolutely agree. When we get in that site plan review with planning, they'll be able to outline all of that for us to make sure our plans do conform. But I will write that down, Chris, and make a note of it to make sure that I review it and that I also am familiar with it in case it's something we need to incorporate sooner than later. All right, and reading through some other stuff. There was a comment about spending money on police protection. I agree. Safety, public safety is extremely important, and we need more funding for our local sheriffs. Parks is 100% separate. Parks here at Josephine County are self-funded. We do receive some money from the Oregon State Marine Board, as well as some money through the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department through RV fees. So if you own a boat or if you own an RV and you register it, all the money goes up the line and it comes back down in some form or fashion to make sure that we can keep facilities open for those user groups. Unfortunately, any money we're spending on the park improvement, which is equally important to quality of life, to social equality, to mental health, to physical health, all those things contribute with parks. Our pot of money cannot be redirected to police. In fact, we have to come up with our own user fees. We're 100% self-supporting by charging those fees, and we will be going after grant dollars that are not in direct competition with the sheriffs. They would not be able to apply for the same grant opportunities that we are. We fully support the sheriffs and want to see them fully funded and doing well also. There was a comment about the other sites, Hog Creek and Indian Mary, and how they are not in the middle of a residential area. I agree. A lot of our parks are not immediately in a residential area. Chinook Park is probably, I'm searching my brain right now, probably the one with a boat ramp, which is most residential right around it. So I agree that is a valid point. We have a variety of different parks, a variety of different boat ramps, and I do agree. You guys definitely have a small community in there, and we always are looking to talk to the neighbors and hear what you need from the park as well. So please be part of this process as we continue to progress. All right, let's see. Is this another project like the Rogue River Plants and Trees? I'm not sure what that is referring to. We will have to, of course, look at riparian permits while we're in the process. So if any vegetation is removed, we always look at the balance after the fact. What may then need to be added in order to make sure that we properly take care of the environment, whether that be water quality, whether that be soils and erosion, whether that be the wildlife in general. And so certainly we'll be looking at the overall area and balancing what we need for the environment as well as our human needs. Okay, let's see. A question about will there be an impact on property taxes? No direct impact. With property taxes, Josephine County Parks doesn't get any, and we have no proposed tax ballots out to vote. Any tax increases do go to public vote. In fact, I know we're getting up on a voting season now. You'll be getting that stuff in the mail. How could it affect your property taxes? Well, property values are always going up, and there could be a fear. Some people believe that parks and development make property values go up. Others think it goes down. There's studies on both sides. Overall, if your property value goes up, then your overall dollar on taxes might increase, but the tax percentage will never change. That's really a good question for assessment. I do not know much about property taxes, but that's the little value that I can add to the meeting. All right, let's see. The concrete riverside fishing platform you are proposing removal was placed there to accommodate ADA fishing. What accommodations are we going to make for these individuals to comply with ADA? Well, that's a great question. Right now in the plans, we have not proposed putting back a specific fishing platform. Currently, Josephine County Parks has one park which we direct all of our ADA fishing to, and that is Pierce Riffle. It has the best layout from the parking lot with a grade of paved walkway that then gets you to that fishing platform in order to best use the area as a whole. We can absolutely look at and consider where would fishermen fish from. That has not yet been considered as we're looking at this. And so we encourage that for public comment for the people that want to be bank fishing in this area. I know other people also use this area to access the river with their dogs, with their kids. And it's a spot where a lot of rafters will, pull over, as well as those motorized stuff going in and out. So thank you for your comment on that, Chris. All right, let's see. One of the comments I did have as I'm flipping through all of the written ones here to see what else we have, it came over the phone today, was in regards to picnicking. It was commented by a neighbor that we do have people that come to this park to picnic and to enjoy with their families. And they noted that this plan doesn't show where picnic benches might be and where that activity might take place. Already looking at the plan, I can see areas where picnic benches could potentially be. And as we progress in the plans, we'll make sure to include how many benches and where would they be in order to help reflect that. But we do agree that it is not only a boating facility, it is also used for picnicking and river access. So we'll surely be looking at that. And another one, Oregon State Marine Board needs to address ADA fishing issues, given the ramp is going to remove it. So the Oregon State Marine Board is an expert for boating, and as their name says, they design boating facilities. And so it's our job with Josephine County Parks to identify anything else, such as fishing platforms or picnicking stuff. And I hear your comment. Thank you so much. We'll make sure to be looking at that as we advance. The plans also get to go to the Parks Advisory Board. The Parks Advisory Board gets to look at park users as a whole. They get to look at master plans for parks and say, where should ADA fishing be? Where should our tennis courts be, or our dog parks, and help make those decisions as well. So we'll have several reviews as this progresses. Let's see. So one of the comments, I'm going to read this from Miss Julia. It says, I think the entry to the ramp should be direct, not the convoluted access proposed. The park has been used and you observed 38 years of family time in the summer with picnicking. There's a comment on removing the children play area. and that this would be a better use for families instead of fishermen. So I 100% hear you. When I arrived, there was a wooden two-tiered structure that I believe was built by a Boy Scout, if my memory serves me right. And the first time I climbed it, it shifted and it shook, and it did not have proper fall material. And honestly, it did violate safety needs for children and the highly regulated playgrounds and all the industry standards that we have to follow. So that one was removed due to safety. If we put a playground in at this location, it's going to attract a lot more public and a lot more cars, and you need a lot bigger area for that to happen. At this time, the Parks Department has not had any plans to replace a playground here. I apologize. I know that it's right next to many residents' houses, but even as a small one of that degree, it does take a lot of maintenance. Please make sure you're included with the Tom Pierce Park Playground review. It's undergoing now. It is an amazing playground, and we'd love to have you review that and comment. If you do feel strongly about a playground at this location, the Parks Advisory Board is going to be your best bet, as they always review the decisions the Parks Department is making, and they can point stuff out to the commissioners and make recommendations as well. So I think that'd be a great place if you feel that this should no longer be a big fishing access, or sorry, a boater access location, and instead should go in a different direction. It's just not quite slated that way in the plans currently. So it is a boat ramp. We need to fix the safety of access to the river. Let's see, I see a comment on this could have the potential to be another Baker Park for homeless. One of the great things about county parks is we don't have the same rules and regulations as city parks. I know that the county right now is inundated with the unhoused population, and they're seemingly taking over public parks and a lot of public areas as you're driving around town. I am encouraging the city also to come up with a designated location for the unhoused population. I'm very vocal in that area. As far as county is concerned, they are not allowed to set up tents. They are not allowed to camp in our areas. You're not allowed to sleep in your car during day use times. You need to be using the facilities. We do regulate that in our parks, and we do remove anybody who is not recreating in the parks. If you ever see this happening at Chinook Park, please give us a call and make sure that we are aware of it so that we can act sooner than later. We have designated campgrounds. That is where you can go to camp. The city is just designed different, and it's not a secret they're undergoing some litigation in regards to how the homeless community has and does not have certain services within the city. But that has not so far been an issue for the county parks, and I don't anticipate it being in the future. So there was a comment about we are required by federal law to accommodate ADA. 100% agree. The plans and the design of this will fully accommodate all ADA needs. What it needs to do specifically is have access to all activities provided on site. It does not say that certain activities need to be provided at any one location. So when we look at ADA for county parks, and we did come through a big lawsuit on this, we look at the entire parks system. So it's not that every single park has to offer every different activity, and not every different activity has to be ADA compliant, but as a system as a whole, we need to have access to at least one fishing platform, to at least one campground. And so we have identified those. We are continually updating our ADA list for improvements, prioritizing those and working through those. All right, and I don't see any additional comments. It looks like all of the questions have been answered at this time. Is there anything the Oregon State Marine Board would like to add while we give people additional time to answer new questions that we have not yet addressed? All right, so this meeting is recorded. I'll say it again. As soon as we close this meeting, I'm going to just edit to get rid of some dead time at the front. I'm gonna put this embedded on our website. You can go to josephinecountyparks.com or tell everyone you know that's where to go. We'll have our email address and our address so that we can continue to get feedback. How can we improve Chinook Park in order to meet the needs of the community, of boating access, for how the park is being used today, as well as how it will be used in the future. We love to hear from everybody, so please submit your stuff. I will not be able to answer all phone calls. I do apologize. We're a very small staff, but we do everything we can. The best thing you can do is get it in writing so that we can address all of them at once. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us today, to let us inform you on where we have been and where we're going, and then to receive your feedback as well. That's really important to us. Thank you to the Oregon State Marine Board for also joining us and spending staff time. Until the next meeting, we hope to see you soon, and I'll end the meeting now. Thank you.